Feel squeezed in. So I'm going to stand over here. So I'm going to do a presentation on the Haiti projects that have been done in the last several months. As many of you know, we've had a small team go to Haiti, the southern part of Haiti, a small town called Montgomery, for the June, what was it, in 2016, 2017, and 2018. And we wanted to go in 2019, but the conditions were not good in Haiti, and so there's a lot of political unrest, and so we did not go in 2019, and we thought we might go in 2020, but you know, it changed a lot of people's plans, COVID did. So what I did was I contacted the leader of PPM, Praying Pelican Missions, to find out what might be done for the village, because we had about $12,000. We had like a $4,000 refund from Delta for our non-refundable airplane tickets, which is quite unusual that they refunded it. So we had over $12,000 to use for the village in support of them. And so I talked with the leader of Praying Pelican in Haiti, and also the pastor and the principal of the school there that we helped build. And so after 3 or 4 different calls, we kind of prioritized the projects that would be of the most good for the community. And that's what you're going to see some pictures about. And so I will get started here. So we were supposed to go in June of this year, and we did not, but instead a local team was comprised of different Praying Pelican Mission staff members. And so because of COVID, and it was happening in June, and it wasn't as bad, it hadn't quite hit them in Haiti as it did here, but they knew it was coming. And so they thought, well, we'll buy masks for some of the villagers there, and then they'll do talks about what COVID is all about and what proper hygiene is. And so the new well helped a lot with the hygiene, because what they had for water was using stream water for washing their clothes, cooking with, drinking out of, and so it was, and washing in. And so we, with the funds that were given by this church, we're able to have a new well constructed there. You'll see pictures of that. Another sustaining project, now that we will not probably go back, at least I won't be leading a team to go back. I'd like to go myself back again, but I don't expect that there will be a team, unless it's led by somebody else that wants to lead a team. But one of the things that we did in one of the years that we were there was we helped build a new school building. This is a school that is not funded by the government. In fact, I don't know if any school in Haiti is actually funded by the government. So up in the mountains where this village is, it's like 45 minutes from the closest town at the base of the mountain. And the kids in this village don't get education unless the school was there. And it was, I'll tell you a little bit about this principal, which I didn't share with the first service, but you'll see a picture of him. And he was a person that actually was raised in this community and got his education and decided that he wanted to establish a school because he knew what it was like to be in that community and not have a school. So he came back and for many years was trying to get this school building built, and then to actually have teachers come and regularly teach. But they had no way to pay for the teachers. So we'll show you some pictures of the farm that they have built. What they want to do is raise pigs and goats. They're thinking about 80 right now. And they were going, that's the long-term plan, to breed them and be able to sell them to the villagers, and also to sell them in Jacmel, which is down at the base of the mountain. So they would have money enough to provide salaries for the teachers. And when they were talking about this, when I was talking about this with the principal, I said, so like, who's going to work this farm? Who's going to take care of the animals? And he said, the teachers are. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, they're willing to do this because then they know they have a salary, because up to now they've just been kind of doing it, hit and miss. And if the villagers had, offerings for them, that would be their salary. So this will be good that they have something to help pay for them. And then the last thing that was a priority was this 5-day medical clinic. And so you'll see pictures of that going on too. All right. So this is a couple praying Pelican Staff. Jessica was actually one of our staff members in 2016. Really a sweet person and did a lot of translation for us. As I was telling the first church, the great thing about Praying Pelican Missions is that they sponsor local short-term mission teams from the United States to countries all over the world, and Haiti's one of them. But they use local Haitians to staff their work and their projects. So we got to meet Jessica, and Jessica was there to be part of that team in June when we couldn't be there and help pass out Mass. And the gentleman that's next to her is James Bazin, and he was our staff person each of the 3 trips we were on. He's only about 20, 21 years old, but just amazing, grounded in the spirit kind of guy, full of joy, and was a wonderful translator for us and was with us 24 hours a day, every day of the trip, so that we were protected and that we had all of our needs met. Here they are. You can kind of see a picture of what their homes are typically like in this village. This is the complete home, and usually they were only like 2 rooms, like, a kitchen and then a place to sleep. And this is his sister, who is a nurse, and she was doing some of the talks to the children so they understood what basic hygiene was like, and especially in the days of COVID, and what kinds of things they needed to do differently. She's also explaining how to use the Mass. I think the goal was to hand out at least 200 Mass. And so what they were doing was going from home to home and explaining to the people what to do and that COVID was coming. This was in June, so it was still pretty early. They hadn't been hit like they are now. And there she is. And this is Pastor Elbarre. He was the Nazarene pastor of the church where we stayed. And he was visiting along with the local team to just explain what they were doing and also just sharing the gospel with them. I'm sure the team members were also doing that too. I just get a kick out of this home because it's painted pink, and that is a very typical color, very bright colored homes in this village, and throughout Haiti you'll see very homes just like this. And this is him and his wife, Madame Elbarre. And there he is, visiting one of the villagers, and there's James's sister, again, passing out Mass. And here's a group picture, and you'll see James in the back with the big grin, his sister, and Jessica, and then there's a couple other people I don't know. But the guy in the yellow shirt was also a staff person with our trip on the last trip that we had. Really funny guy. His name was Jackie. And here's a group picture of them also in front of the church. And I wanted to point out this man that's sitting on the steps because he is the principal of the school that we helped build. And he was also at the meetings that I was having with the head of PPM in Haiti. And just explaining, because of his education, he was able to, and because he's from the community, he was able to speak more, intelligently and in a more detailed way about the needs of the community. And so he was really helpful in kind of figuring out what projects were really needed, because there was several that were discussed. Here's the next set of slides are going to be about the well that was built. They actually had a well that was built in 1985, and it worked for a while, but it's been more than 10 years since they've been able to get water out of it because there have been a lot of things thrown into it, and it was damaged, and so it wasn't usable anymore. So what they did was they cleaned out what was there, and you'll see pictures later of the pump that they actually installed. But one of the things they wanted to do, because there had been some vandalism, these are very poor people and they will take what they can get sometimes, and I think that's maybe what happened with the old well. And so what they decided that they would do is build a structure around the well. And so you'll see the center part, I believe that's the old well they cleaned out. But they wanted to build a structure around the well to kind of keep it enclosed and add a level of kind of security from vandalism or whatever, or people stealing parts of the well, because the pump is quite expensive. They bought that in Port-au-Prince. All the materials that were used for the building and for the pump and the mast, all of that was purchased with our funds by paying Pelican. And an accounting of all the funds and everything that was purchased was given to me so that we could see that all the money was used for the projects. And this is the pump. They had to get this from Port-au-Prince and bring it to the village, which is, I don't know, the straight shot, which you cannot do a straight shot all the way across from Port-au-Prince to this village. Probably would have been 4 hours, but you have to go all the way around the village. So it takes like 6 hours to get to there from Port-au-Prince. So this is the kind of pump that they had to install in the old well, and when they said that they were going to do a well, I was thinking a bucket and a rope, but this is not at all what they had, and this is what it looks like. So it should last for a long time, and in the next pictures you'll see them using it and making sure it works. And this is the more of a completed structure, the usual corrugated metal roof and then the concrete blocks around. And then they want to make sure that it was secure, so they have a door. And also, this is the completed building, they have keys to the door, but only a couple people, trusted leaders in the community, have the keys to the door because they want to control access to the well, make sure there's not damaged once again, that parts aren't taken and stuff like that. So they will know who has used the well at all times. So that's just a wonderful thing. And the principal was talking about how one of the villagers came to him and how so very grateful they were to have a clean source of water. Here is the fence, or the kind of the outer walls of the farm that they're trying to build to enclose the animals. So as you can see, again, corrugated metal, and you can see some of the logs that are kind of supporting it, and those logs are probably from trees built from the community. They just cut the trees down and they use them for support for making things, because that's what they were doing with the houses that we helped build. In the first couple years we were there. There's another view of the side of this building, and another view again of this building. And then this is kind of the interior. And so what they were thinking of is kind of having stalls for what they want to have is like goats and pigs for breeding, and they were going to have places where they could separate them. And so this is what it looks like. And if you look, you can kind of see trees in the middle of this area, which is kind of funny, but very typical of how they farm. I mean, they farm on the side of the mountain, and you'll see corn like planted in the middle of trees, and you'll see weeds growing, but it's just the way they do farming there. So I would not be surprised if those trees remain there in the middle of the building, of the structure. Another picture of it. And this is the last picture. It's probably the best picture of the interior, and I think there's more work that needs to be done. I know that they wanted to have a cistern built so that they would have a source of water for the animals, and then a little storage shed to keep the feed and stuff. So that's the last picture of the farm. And here is the first pictures of the clinic, and what the Praying Pelican leader had a doctor friend in Jacmel, and he came with 2 nurses, and they were there for 5 days, and they saw over 100 patients during the 5 days. And I remember asking him, I said, well, how do you let people know in the village that there's going to be this clinic? How will they know it's this time? Will you have anybody there? Will these people just be waiting for people to come? And he goes, oh no, they'll find out, and they will know, and they will be there, and it will be a busy time. And he was right. So what they did was they set up the clinic within the church. As you can kind of see some sheets, and they're kind of giving some privacy to some of the people. That's medicine on the table. The doctors and the 2 nurses were $700 in US money, and then they spent $1,500 on medicine. The bulk of the money was used probably for the farm, and will be used for the farm, the bulk of the money that remains. Here's one of the nurses. I'm not sure exactly what she's doing with one of the patients. You see kids running around, which is very typical. And I'm not sure if this is part of the clinic or this might have been a Sunday school class, but this is a pretty good shot of the inside of the church where we stayed when we were there. They don't have glass in their windows. I noticed that they have curtains up. They didn't have curtains before. They just had bars in their windows to keep, people out when it's locked up. Here's the doctor again with a family and another nurse, people waiting, and another nurse and someone getting examined. I think these last three pictures, they didn't give me an explanation. I obviously did not take these pictures. Is a church service. And so you can kind of see the interior of the church, and the platform back behind the speaker was where we slept. We slept on the floor in our sleeping bags and our air mattresses, and every time it was time for service, then we would have to clear all our stuff out and get the pews back in. And this is some people worshiping. You can tell they're kind of dressed up, and they do dress up for church. And this is the last picture, so it's the back of the church. So I'm just very thankful and wanted you to see some of the pictures of these projects and what happened there over these last several months, and how much the money that was given towards our trip was reused to support a local team, and also some really worthwhile projects that are going to have a lasting impact on this village. So thank you so much for them. I know if they were here, they would say it in person. So I'm just really grateful for all the support that this church has provided over the years to help us go and be there in your place. Thank you.